of members of our team here with us today. We've got Hallie Stewart, one of our retreat travel specialists, here helping. Thanks, Hallie. And we've got Charlotte Renau from Colorado here as well, who was the retreat leader on the Bhutan Mindful Running Retreat this year, and will be sharing with us a lot of her experience, firsthand experience of running in Bhutan. So we have a number of people here with us today. Some of you have been on retreats with us before. Some of you have never been on a retreat with us before, but to all of you, welcome. Just a couple of little housekeeping things, just so you're aware, this webinar is being recorded so that we can share it with the other people who weren't able to join us live, but will want to catch up with this, so please be aware of that. And we will be answering questions, mostly kind of in the latter part of the hour. But we've got a number of questions that you submitted in advance that we will run through. And then also we will be taking new questions. So at any time during this webinar, if you have a question, feel free to pop it in the chat. And then we will run through those questions a little bit later on in the presentation. So I'll be kind of taking us through this presentation that we've got prepared, and then asking Charlotte to make contributions throughout based on her incredible time in Bhutan earlier this year. So, but first, I just wanted to share with you a little bit about Run Wild Retreats, who we are and what we do here. But the Run Wild Retreats has been around for 14 years. I founded the company way back when I was editor of a running magazine because I just really wanted to get more women into running. And now we're an incredible company that is an award-winning tour operator. We run running retreats in about a dozen different countries around the world. And we received numerous travel awards from like Shape Magazine, Runner's World Magazine, and are members of a number of different professional organizations for specialized travel agencies like ours, including the Transformational Travel Council, the Wellness Tourism Association, the Adventure Travel Trade Association, and we're an accredited tour operator. So we're really proud to be part of a huge community that's really committed to making travel experiences that are really impactful for people and really potentially transformational. So as I said, I'm Eleanor Fish, and I'm the founder of CEO, and Charlotte today is my co-host. And we are going to be talking today specifically about Bhutan. And as with all of our retreats, we're very intentional about where we go on our different retreats, because we're really looking to create a very special experience. One that is not only going to take you on an incredible running experience in a destination where there's just spectacular trails that go through beautiful natural landscapes and offer really rich cultural experiences. But we really want to offer something that's so much more than that really from beginning to end really delivers something really unique that you wouldn't find anywhere else. And of course, Bhutan is one of those places that really is outstanding. And I can't wait to dive into all the different aspects of this particular retreat. But just know that what you're in for is so much more than just a running tour. As with all of our retreats, we're really offering you an opportunity to explore different aspects of running through mindfulness that is going to give you a much different and deeper and more nuanced running experience than you'll probably have anywhere else. And while Bhutan just happens to be an incredible place for us to do that, it's also to the very intentional way in which our whole trip is designed and our retreat leaders lead, that also facilitate for you individually a potentially transformational experience. If you're willing to come along on this journey with us, you just may find that it is really an opportunity for you to really connect with yourself as a person, with what's in your heart and what's really most valuable to you. And that's one of the things that we love about travel and love sharing with people like you about travel, in that when you go to a new place, you have such amazing opportunities to connect with people and cultures and values in a way that there's just never any time for in the busyness of our everyday lives. So if it takes going all the way to Bhutan to have that experience and feel that shift, well, then come along with us, because this is what we love to do and we're super passionate about it. But first, let's just find out a little bit more about Bhutan. So first of all, where is it in the world? So just to be clear, here we are in Asia, and it is right there next to Nepal and south of China. And our itinerary actually has us flying to Kathmandu first, because you can't fly straight into Bhutan from the United States or most places. You have to connect through another neighboring country. So we recommend flying to Kathmandu. And that's what our groups who went to Bhutan did this year, and it worked really well. And then from there, our retreat package includes your a flight from Kathmandu to Paro within Bhutan. So here's a close-up map of what Bhutan looks like. And so, like I said, our flight comes in from Kathmandu and takes us to Paro. And then you'll spend the rest of the week traveling to these different communities in this region here of Western Bhutan. And we'll get into a little bit more about what those places are like as we go through. Plus, there's lots more information in the detailed itinerary that we'll be sharing with you at the end of this webinar. So, as I said, our approach to designing and leading retreats is rather unique. And I just had to share, this testimonial because it just says so much about our commitment to you as a retreat company to really create something that is really special. And a big part of what makes it special is not only the destination, but the other women that you get to travel with when you come on a Run Wild retreat. And so, like, this testimonial from Teresa just encapsulates so much of that, of what to us it makes it really meaningful and important. And so we're going to break down a little bit more about what specifically does that look like what really does that mean. And so the way we see it is that we're taking you on a journey, right? Not only through Bhutan, but also into a place that is going to really support you as a whole woman. So that means not just supporting you as a runner, but we're really going to support you also as a person, maybe a person who needs a lot of rest or space or downtime or connection, or just support kind of adapting to this very new and different environment in which in which you're coming to be with us. And our goal from us is to really, for you to go home from this retreat feeling really rejuvenated, feeling really inspired, and just really, really fulfilled on so many levels. And so to us, that means not making the itinerary so jam-packed and busy and full that you don't have time to also slow down and relax and just be there and have mindful connections. And so at no time in this retreat do we want you to feel pressured to rush around and keep up with other people, and especially on the trail. The way we've designed it, you get to kind of run at your own pace and really feel the support of our guides and our retreat leader every step of the way. So you don't have to worry about holding back other members of the group, because inevitably not everyone runs at the same pace, for example, and not everyone travels at the same pace. So we really want to hold space for each one of you individually to be able to run and just be at a pace that feels comfortable to you. So here's how we get started with that process. And it really begins before you've even left home. We really see just this process of after you book the retreat and you say, all right, I'm in, I want to come. That's when we really start this journey with you. And so I love this picture right here, by the way. I got to point out, we've got Charlotte here, and we've got two of our other retreat leaders, Liz, who's leading the retreat in Bhutan this coming April, and also lovely Jan, who's another one of our great retreat leaders, because Liz and Jan went to Bhutan with Charlotte this year. So they're also super familiar with the destination and know it very well. And so one of the things that you'll be doing with Liz before you meet her in Kathmandu is you'll get on a Zoom call, and there'll be an opportunity for you to meet her and the other retreat participants, and start to mentally prepare in more practical ways in terms of getting the right gear and clothing and all that kind of stuff. So that's just one small example of the many things that we do to support your preparation. And then before the retreat begins, we also have an opportunity for you to come a little bit early. And I really would encourage any of you to consider this option, and is to stay at this beautiful Himalayan luxury mountain resort called Dwarika's in Julikal. And it has just a world-class Ayurvedic spa in which their doctors and expert wellness professionals and practitioners there create a whole special regime for you to support your well-being. And I mean, it's just such a wonderful way to kind of recover from the jet lag and get some real rest and just start to unwind, because it's a big deal to travel halfway around the world for an experience like this. So it's really nice to have an opportunity to just unwind a little bit before the group experience begins. So I do highly recommend it. And by the way, this picture here on the bottom is the Himalayan pink salt chamber. So you get to really soak in that halotherapy and soak it all in. So then we arrive, and this is where I'm going to start to have Charlotte share a little bit more about her firsthand experience. But just to kind of set the stage, like I said, we include your flight from Kathmandu after the first night in Kathmandu is included in the retreat package. And then, of course, we take care seamlessly of getting you to the airport in Kathmandu for your flight to Paro, Bhutan. So then you can officially arrive. And so, Charlotte, do you want to tell us a little bit more about what it's kind of like on that first day and how you help guests kind of settle in and start to feel like they've truly started?
Yeah, you actually arrived to Kathmandu, one of the most crazy, busy, chaotic cities in the world, and you are taken to the hotel in the center of the city. That's a little oasis where we have our opening meeting and some time there actually to also start calming down the nervous system and get ready for the journey next day. And then only 5 pilots in the world can fly from Kathmandu airport to Paro, Bhutan. And you have the opportunity on that journey to get a peek of Everest along the way, because if we're seated in the right side of the plane, we'll get to get to see the peaks out in the distance. And then you arrive, you come from that overwhelming time in Kathmandu to the most peaceful airport that I've ever been in. It's like there's that blanket of peace and calm that just arrived with you setting feet on that beautiful space. Yeah, so it's pretty simple. It's a 20-minute flight. You arrive, we withdraw some cash in the airport, so you're ready to go, and then we'll meet our two guides, the running guides, in the airport. And from there, the journey starts. Such a seamless process. We're so well taken care of, and that airport in Paro is just amazingly beautiful, full of artwork, and already there you have the exposure to really the essence of what that country is all about. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Charlotte.
Mhm.
Yeah. And so one of the things that Charlotte mentioned is the welcome meeting. And that's really important because sure, we cover a lot of logistics and practical things at that meeting, but it's also when you really start to get to know the other women that you're traveling with and really get to sense that just that sense of connection and the fact that this is very much a shared experience, but also one that you get to really personalize, which means you can really make this retreat your own. And and what that means is so many little things, but you do have the freedom within this group travel experience to take time to take care of you, whether that means more alone time, or just skipping a run if you want, or running a few extra miles if you've got a lot of energy on your own or what have you. But there is some flexibility, even though we do have a very detailed plan for each day of the retreat. So do know that. And then one of the other things that we highly recommend that you add to your retreat package is the Transformational Travel Journal. And this is something, if you order it along with booking your retreat, I mail it to you beforehand so you can start using it before you've even left home. And it's a really great way to just kind of document your experience throughout the retreat. And then connecting. Oh wait, yeah, I feel like I skipped some slides. Whoops. We did that one. Yes. So being curious is a very important part of the early part of this retreat experience. And this is because, as Charlotte started to kind of describe, Bhutan is a completely different place with a completely different vibe and feel and way of being. And so Charlotte, can you tell us a little bit more about just how is it just so completely different from probably any other place that anyone here has traveled to?
Well, it's that tiny potato-shaped country. They actually call it potato-shaped because they have some of the best potatoes in the world, in their own opinion. That is squeezed in between China in the north and India in the south, and has managed to stay neutral and not like Tibet. They are independent. And it says a lot about how they do their politics as well, gross national happiness, which they really take seriously. For me, the first impression, because I've traveled a lot in that region of the world, is that this might be the most pure version of Buddhism that I've ever been confronted with. Our running guides, they actually do pick up the worms from the running trails when we go running, and they live Buddhism in another way than they do in Nepal. So yeah, if you really, I try to convey my experience there as going and then coming home as a changed person. So if you have that curiosity to your experience, you might come home as a changed person.
And Charlotte, that makes me think of one of the questions that was submitted in advance was about yoga, whether there's yoga as part of the retreat package, and whether that, there is much time spent on the spiritual side of yoga, or is it really just about yoga for stretching the body and that sort of thing?
There's one yoga class taught by a local yoga instructor. It's not as big of a tradition yoga in Bhutan as it is in India or Nepal. They do have a handful of good yoga instructors there, but they are mainly educated in India. And that yoga that we're going to get exposed to is more of a cultural experience, really, than it is a traditional Indian yoga class.
And Charlotte, you mentioned the Bhutan government has this thing called like gross national happiness, which is their measurement of a healthy country as opposed to like GDP and kind of more like the financial measurement. How do the clients kind of learn about that, and how is that relevant to the retreat itself?
We are gonna meet a local politician that is gonna have us talk us through that whole way of leading a country, really. That's so different from anywhere else in the world where we do other GDPs, right? So they really do take their countries and their people's well-being serious. And you're gonna get exposed to that through a lecture. I think is it second or third night in Timbu? But it's also easily to understand when you get exposed to the country in general and the people. So proud of their little kingdom and so proud of the way that the country is led. And you see the happiness not only in the way they express it, but also in their eyes. It's a very kind and compassionate country, and I've never been anywhere where that is in such pure form.
Yeah, it really sounds really incredible. And we have just the most wonderful, kind guides there too, don't we?
Yeah, and they are a mixture of being running guides. It's a fun mixture of them having running clothes on and then having the traditional Bhutanese clothes on, because they also take us into monasteries, to Song, that are the temples, no, the fortresses there, and temples in general, nunneries. So they will change clothes often, and they know the history, the stories of the place, as well as they know the trails and can guide us through that trail experience there.
That's awesome. Yeah, so next, as we kind of move through the retreat experience and move from village to village throughout Bhutan, we really start to build opportunities for connection, not only with our wonderful Bhutanese guides who are with us on the trail all day and our cultural hosts, but also, the group of the retreat leader and our fellow retreat participants. There's a lot to be said for just the having this shared mindfulness experience together, traveling through such a foreign place. And this point of connection is really a powerful part of what makes this a whole mindful travel experience, in addition to all the incredible cultural richness that Bhutan inherently offers. So, for example, the fact that there is very sort of limited and unreliable Wi-Fi throughout and cell service in Bhutan, you'll find that you'll be using your phone and relying on your phone a lot less. And that is actually really incredible. And just that digital detox that results is more impactful than you might think. So be prepared to know that you may not be as connected as you are used to, but that is really an opportunity to disengage from the online world and just to really start to help you cultivate a greater sense of presence. And that really supports an initiative that we offer, a policy that we offer across all of our retreats, which is called the presence policy, which sounds very official, but really it is just about asking you to, turn off your watches and GPS and just really for the sake of again, kind of cutting out some of the digital noise that we typically rely on, especially as runners. I know we like to log runs and track things and share share, digital recordings. But this is really an opportunity for us to just like put all that aside and create as much space as possible for just being present on the trail, and then, present off the trail when we're with our fellow travelers.
Oh, no,
So
may I jump in real quick? Because I want to say that the running in Bhutan is also a way to connect, right? So if you read through the Transformational Travel Journal, there's so much beautiful to say about how this is an opportunity to connect to self, to a place, to people. And this destination really offers you the place to go depth over distance. Because when we go run, we pace in a way where we actually get to connect to the people we run by, because we run through villages where people live and where everyday life unfolds while we're living. And who doesn't want to hug a beautiful little Bhutanese face that's on its way to school, or connect to the people that we meet along the way, as we do also connect to monks when we run to a monastery. So there's a certain sense of cultural running here. We sometimes split the runs into running towards a dzong or a monastery, sitting with monks and eating lunch, and then returning back home. And we don't want to miss that opportunity to connect to the place and to the people that we run with. And so we go much more for depth than distance on this retreat.
beautifully said. I love it. And I think you guys will as well, for sure. And so I also want to just highlight a little bit about the places that we stay along the way, because they're really exceptional. And one of those properties is the Zwialing Ascent Hotel. And like with all of the hotels throughout the whole retreat, we are staying in upgraded hotels, which means they're more like comparable to 4-star hotels as opposed to standard 3-star hotels. And so this is one of those beautiful hotels that we really get to enjoy, that's locally owned and operated by Bhutanese citizens. And it's surrounded by nature and just offers stunning mountain views of the Thimphu Valley, and the forests and mountains that are surrounding it. And this hotel, it has just a wonderful restaurant and then a beautiful spa therapy room as well. Charlotte, was there anything you wanted to say about this?
Yes, please, because this is what we do the rooftop yoga at sunrise and have that beautiful view of the valley. But it's also where the king stayed during COVID for recovery, when he actually caught COVID. So there's a secret room there where the king stayed when he had COVID. So
very special.
oh.
Yeah, it's a beautiful setting for this mindful running retreat. So speaking of mindfulness, the next phase of our retreat is really starting to become mindful. And you'll notice this is like phase 5 of the retreat experience, because it takes us all a while to really get more present and really start to put into practice the mindfulness techniques that your retreat leader offers on the trail. It takes a while for that to really be integrated into your body and your mind. You don't just flip a switch. So we know it's a progression. That's why each day on the trail is a practice. It's like, let's practice these techniques. Let's practice these, a practice where we are putting our attention and what we're focusing on, and just being more aware of where your attention is. So you'll find that you'll be, in the beginning, maybe thinking about what you left back home. And then as the retreat progresses, kind of just being able to be more present and maybe a little bit less concerned with that, and just more in the moment. And after this webinar, Hallie's going to send you a wonderful follow-up email, and in that we'll include a link to a blog post that is a Q&A with one of the women who came on this retreat this past spring. Her name is Kristen, and she's actually an executive at Amazon, like Amazon, the big, huge global company. But she's a woman who had like a huge amount of responsibility, and she had to leave her very high pressured, very, big team project to come on this retreat. And it was really transformational for her. So I would encourage you to read that blog post when we share it with you, because she just really encapsulates kind of what that process looked like for her. It might inspire you too.
And it's almost like the further into the country, and we are going to get to the next destination, I'm sure, in a little bit, Eleanor, but the further into the country you travel, the more quiet, the more peaceful it becomes. And the bigger questions in life arrive, and the more intimate and real conversations in between everyone in the group starts to arrive. So at that stage in your retreat experience, it's just all about beautiful conversation, connection to each other, and having a group that is supportive and safe to unfold everything in between the lines. So yeah, mindfulness really arrives at this time in the process, I guess.
Awesome. And so, speaking of which, from Zweeling, we move on to Duashin Hotel and Spa, and this one is in the I'm not sure how to pronounce it, Charlotte. What the name of this valley? Pobjika Valley?
Pobjika, yeah, it's a very sacred valley. They have it's a migration destination. It is one of the most biodiverse places in the whole world. So they're very protective. Phone lines are dug underneath the ground because they have about 600 black-necked cranes arrive every spring to this valley. The story goes that the cranes fly 3 times around the monastery before they land at the valley floor. So it's a very rich and potent place. Not very populated, but very biodiverse. So lots of animals to encounter along the way, and beautiful stories, and a big monastery that you're going to run to.
Amazing. And it sounds like this hotel also offers a spa and the traditional hot stone bath experience, which is really a must do.
Oh yes, and there's time for that in the afternoon of the first day there and the second day there, actually. So plenty of time to book these treatments in the afternoons when you're done running. And although this is not, it's a very rustic place, and it might not seem like one of those wellness spa resorts that you've been to maybe here in America, but the massages there are some of the best that I've ever had. So a beautiful, beautiful, very intimate experience in that spa.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. So as our retreat progresses, there'll be a lot of running, and every run on each day is in a different location and offers a very different experience. And so as as it progresses to, the runs start off kind of shorter in duration and at a lower elevation. And as you move through these different regions, some of the runs will be a little bit longer, not a lot longer, but a little bit more distance. And then in some places, a little bit more elevation. And so, Charlotte, I wonder if you can tell us a little bit more about the running, what it's like there, how we pace the runs. And then plus we have a question from someone about how the running in Bhutan on this retreat is different than, say, at our Nepal trail running and wellness retreat.
So this is the level 2 retreat, right? The only fitness you have to make sure you have is that you are able to run 8 miles on road comfortably. We have plenty of resources when we run there. There's always a guide in the front and one in the back, and no one is ever left behind. You are able to run in your own pace. The first longer run we have on day 3 is an out and back. We run up for an hour and a half, and then we are at a monastery where we go visit. So you can pace yourself on the way up. And in the way you want to. But there's some altitude gain that day, so we really emphasize and motivate you to, in advance, hydrate, electrolytes, sleep, taking good care of yourself, so that you are able to go the distance. That day is an out and back, but again, we have plenty of resources and we have plenty of time to get up and down. The longer runs, when we get to the Pupjiga Valley, they do have a van available, and we have all kinds of plan A, Bs, and Cs where you can leave out sections or do half of a run, and then a van will pick you up and take you either to a temple or a song, or you can run there. So there are plenty of options along the way for you to customize your run so it suits the way you feel that day. And so you have plenty of options, and there's no stress because we do practice depth over distance. So we want to connect to the place while we run, and we want to connect to each other and ourselves while we run. So plenty of resources. The only thing we do want to make sure is that we take care of our health when it comes to altitude.
Yeah, very, very important that we do that for sure. Yeah, and so do let us know, those of you who are with us live today, if you have any other questions about the runs themselves, because you'll notice on the itinerary that we're going to share with you in the Yuli trip page, if you haven't already kind of gone over to see the detailed itinerary that's available on our website. Of course, we'll share a link to that in the chat and in the follow-up email. But there you can, you'll see that we kind of describe the runs in terms of, number of hours of the day will be on trail. And it's usually arranged like 2 to 3 or 3 to 4. And that time on trail includes stops to take pictures, to look at the view, to drink from our hydration packs, which are really important, especially because, as Charlotte said, the altitude, the elevation is taxing. And so it is very important to stay hydrated. Yes, Melissa, I see your question about what the elevation is. And so there's a range. We start off at about 4,500 feet above sea level. And the highest we get to, I think, is about 10,000 feet. But that's, not for an extended period of time. If I recall, Charlotte, that's kind of like for the
Correct.
peak run when we go to Tiger's Nest.
Yeah, also that one. The run on day 3 does also reach 10,000 feet, but that's for a shorter period of time. And that's the day where we have plenty of resources and plenty of time. We have nowhere to be. So that's the day where we ask everyone to look for their heart rate and their breath and to pace themselves accordingly. Also, there's no real challenge to the terrain. It's not highly technical terrain. It's a mixture of dirt and rocks, really, and some roots. But compared to the Nepal retreat that I saw a question about, that is a level 3 retreat. It's a lot more technical when it comes to the terrain. So I would say that's the difference. Nepal does not have this kind of altitude to it, but the trails are pretty technical.
Yeah. Oh, thank you, Charlotte. And just to point out as well, with all of our running retreats, there's a lot of actually like hiking incorporated in with the running. So for none of these runs is like running continuously. There's a lot of alternating hiking and running as a way of pacing, and that is crucial for trail running, especially trail running at higher elevations. And that's true for all of our retreats at higher elevations. And so, your guides and retreat leader really help kind of set that pace to keep it very comfortable and manageable so that you're not trying to run nonstop. So you can really choose your pace and find that perfect balance for you.
And in my experience, the destination itself really evoked another way of running that is very different than wanting to even have mileage or pacing in mind, because there's so much about being there and instead of running through that just happened all by itself. Miraculously, people started to leave their watches at the hotel because there was really no need to focus on anything apart from enjoying the trail and the experience while running with others and observing the landscape and the people that you pass by, or the culture, the history of the place that unfolds while you run through this beautiful destination.
Yeah. Thank you, Charlotte. And so let's see here. Here we go. Oh, yes. So Densa Boutique Hotel is in the Punakha Valley, and also one of the just most spectacular hotels in Bhutan. And just has an exceptional spa. And again, you know, we make sure that you have time to actually enjoy those amenities, and it's an experience in itself staying here. Charlotte, what did you love best about this hotel?
Well, it is a very rustic and simple, but the food is just exquisite and overwhelming almost. There's just all that beautiful food, and lots of local dishes, the emadatsi, the momos, but also a buffet with fresh veggies, fresh fruit, fresh pressed juices. I mean, the food was just, so I would say the food.
Awesome.
Mm.
And yeah, there's so many wellness experiences throughout this retreat that I can't list them all here, but do know, as we've touched on, there's yoga, there's a spa, there's a hot stone bath, which is really incredible, because the big thing about it is not just a bath, but they also provide special herbs and that help to really help with muscular recovery, and beautiful oils and flowers, and so it's really a whole sensual experience, and it's just really going to support your rest and recovery and healing, and it'll really just help you kind of feel better and better as the retreat goes on. So even though there's running most days of the retreat, you won't necessarily feel cumulative fatigue. You might actually find that you are more energized as the retreat goes on, especially because there's such an emphasis on the self-care and the rest.
And I think we are going to get to it, but the last destination, the Bhutan Spirit Sanctuary, has complimentary hot stone baths and massages that you sort of schedule around the hike to Tiger's Nest. So you can, have one before and one after, depending on what you want. But that's included in the stay there.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. So you mentioned Tiger's Nest. So this picture that may look very familiar to a lot of you, because it's one of the most iconic sites to see for visitors to Bhutan, but it's well worth the effort. It's a very steep but short hike to get here, but it's definitely worth it. Charlotte, do you want to tell us a little bit more about what this day is like?
I'm not sure I can, because I might start crying. That was one of the most life-changing experiences I've ever had. It serves as a place of pilgrimage. So every year people come there to travel, to hike up as a part of their pilgrimage journey. And it was the peak experience, the short hike up that's manageable, really, because you've acclimatized by then, and we had enough resources to pace ourselves all the way up there. Steep in the beginning, it levels out, and then you drop down, and there's about 750 steps, and you just get into that rhythm of taking one step at the time, synchronized with your breathing. You arrive to one viewpoint after the other, and you just can't imagine that it can be more beautiful. The sights change, and we had one of the weeks that I was there, it was covered in fog, because we do go very early in the morning to have less people there, really. And then it uncovered, and there you go. It's just like that hanging temple that you actually get to enter. So because we have guides with us that both, guide the runs, but also are able to go into these spectacular sites with no cost. It's included in the price. They can take you in there and provide you with all the stories about the resting Buddha and the sitting Buddha and everything within Buddhism that was just magical.
Mm.
And then you journey down and you are a changed person. And then you get a luxury picnic right at the base with another stunning view of that spectacular, iconic site. So it is a mind-blowingly, life-changing, beautiful day.
Ah, it sounds amazing. It
It
sounds
is.
like definitely something not to miss,
Mhm.
not to miss at all. And so as Charlotte mentioned, at this last part of the retreat, we get to stay at the Bhutan Spirit Sanctuary. So there's a couple of photos of it here, and it's just a spectacular resort with just the most fabulous spa. So it's really everything about this property is designed to just support your spirit as well as your body. And there's just many classes that you can enjoy, meditation, and consultations with Bhutanese doctors or Ayurvedic doctors, and you can book some specialized treatments in addition to your retreat package to make full use of all these incredible offerings there. But you'll just
But
really
maybe
get
you
to be
don't
blown
really,
away.
but maybe you don't really want to leave your room because the rooms are just a sanctuary too. There will be complimentary archery and pottery classes as well. And I did see Amy have a question. Hi, Amy. That do we have laundry service? On all hotels, there are laundry service. There's filtered water for your running pack, hair dryers, so and Wi-Fi accessible. Not very well functioning, but this place is just spectacular. It's a peak hotel in so many ways, and I was so happy that we had 2 days there because it all really comes together, and the conversations got deeper and more profound at that time in the retreat experience.
Mm, that's awesome. Um, and the final phase is really about kind of integrating this whole experience that you had. And so as Charlotte just said, she said the conversations get a lot deeper, and usually by this point there's a lot of connection between the group, and you've all had time to kind of just go on a bit of a personal inner journey as well as kind of this shared outer journey throughout Bhutan. But a really important part of what the retreat leader does is hold space for the group, and offer opportunities in the form of sharing circles for you as a group to share what you're going through. And even if you don't have to share anything too personal, but merely just being able to voice what's coming up for you, or kind of what this experience has meant to you in the moment, is a powerful mindfulness practice in itself. And so we really encourage you to take time to integrate, and take some time, after at the end of the retreat, and then after you get home, to either journal privately or talk about your experience with with a good friend, someone who's a good listener, and take time to really integrate kind of what may be different for you now after the retreat versus before. And we really do our best to support you in that process, because hopefully you can tell by the way Charlotte talks about this retreat. She was in Bhutan in April, and it's still been a very memorable and profound experience for her now. Is that accurate to say, Charlotte?
I truly mean it when I say I returned as a changed human being. Actually, I would say returning to Western civilization became something I needed to have conversations about, because when you disconnect the way you do at this retreat and connect to yourself, and to others. You get to see your life at home in perspective, and maybe there will be some changes you want to make because it becomes so crystal clear to you that life can be lived in a different way. And I think you can't continue living in this bubble. You need to, when you're there, I didn't even have to ask for a sharing circle. They sort of unfolded because we all had so much we reflected on. We needed to digest together. We needed to have conversations about, to understand or grasp, not only the life here on Earth, but the whole scope of what Buddhism really is in that part of the world. So the sharing circles became so potent and so meaningful for everyone. But also the conversation about re-entry and how it is to come back became very important, because we all knew, oh, could we just stay in this bubble and sort of take this experience with us? And obviously you can, but you can take elements of it with you and maybe change smaller or bigger things. We had women that traveled home and quit their jobs. Or when you read Kristen Fox blog, you'll see how it changed her leadership style, the way she takes care of herself as a leader, and how she takes care of her employees due to this experience. So, so much to integrate and due to the experience you have in this little bubble in the world.
Awesome. Well, and one of the most common questions that we get asked next is who else is going, and am I going to fit in? Like, is this retreat for me? And so this retreat is, like many of our retreats, we have mostly women who are aged generally between 40 to 65 to 70. Some of them have, international traveling experience, but some of them not so much. Earlier, Charlotte talked about kind of, it's good to have some experience running on trail, but you don't need to by any means be like a expert at it, because the trails here are relatively easy, very well established walking trails. So they're relatively easy to run on, but you do want to have a good amount of fitness. There will be some women already on this retreat who've been on other retreats with us before, and so they're coming back again, and we love that. And I think some women who've never traveled with us before, so this will be their first, which is really incredible. Charlotte, do you want to say a little bit more about the kind of women that were really attracted to this retreat?
Yeah, I saw the question about age ranges. We had women from the age of 35 to 74, I think. We had mothers and daughters. We had friends. It's very diverse, and diverse running backgrounds too, but very like-minded women. Maybe odd friendships were created, new and old, and across ages. So it's a very diverse group of women, but we all have the passion and the love for running together and travel.
Well, and speaking to travel and travel logistics, there's a question from Amy in the chat, but it's very relevant to the fact that we know for a lot of the women coming on this trip, it can be a little overwhelming and daunting to travel to Asia. Things just work differently there. And so we have just an amazing team in Nepal and in Bhutan who are working with us on those logistics and providing support. Like if your flight is late getting to Kathmandu and you're like, how do I get to my hotel? We have a team in place and communication processes that will support you in those scenarios. So there's a lot of people involved in making this retreat just an amazing experience for you. So do know that that is all factored in, and we want to make sure that you feel comfortable coming all this way, and we take your trust in us very seriously.
There's even a step-to-step guide how you enter and go work your way through the Kathmandu airport, and then right when you get out of the exit, there'll be a a driver with a sign that says Run Wild Retreats to pick you up and take you those 10 minutes to the Dwarika Hotel at the center of Kathmandu. Very easy. I was really pleasantly surprised on how easy it was to travel to even the airport and all the way to the hotel.
That's pretty awesome. Yeah. The food, Charlotte mentioned earlier just how amazing the food is. And I mean, food is just one of those wonderful ways in which you can experience a culture, right? There's so much history that comes through those flavors. And Charlotte did a wonderful job of kind of describing it. But it is possible for us to accommodate most different dietary needs. So we do have a process by which we take in your dietary information. You can let us know if you have any allergies or restrictions. And so we do take that into account. But there's a lot of variety and wonderful new flavors to experience in Bhutan.
The food is very clean. We only take you to restaurants that have good food quality. I actually personally found that food was very easy for my digestion, not to talk about that publicly here, but such good food. Flavorful, beautiful, clean. So a great experience.
Awesome. So there's a lot that is included in our retreat package. And so really we've designed it so that it's not like, some other travel companies where you book your base package, but then there's a whole bunch of other things that you have to add on to that, things like flights or hotel night for the first night that you arrive in Kathmandu and that sort of thing. We've included just about everything, including the gratuities. So you don't have to worry about, tipping here and there and everywhere. We take care of that for you. So you really just get to kind of just relax a little bit or a lot and know that we've taken care of all those big pieces and that you're not going to, have to like book a whole bunch of things apart from your flight. And that's why we even love kind of being able to offer those pre and post retreat hotel room nights in Kathmandu, or even the 3-night luxury mountain spa getaway package as well. So we on the itinerary and booking page that we'll link to now, if you wouldn't mind, Hallie, dropping that link into the chat, and we'll put it in the follow-up email as well. But there is that clearly spells out what's included and then what's not included. So that should answer any questions, but of course, we're happy to help answer those questions as well. And then there's just so much that our staff, including, Hallie as our retreat travel specialist and Liz as the retreat leader of this retreat in 2024, do to help you really get prepared. Everything from that introductory Zoom call that I mentioned to helping, give you advice on how to plan your flights to and from. And then we give you information about what to pack. We've got a whole packing list that you can download and print out about how to dress for the weather, that sort of thing, and what other kind of toiletries or medicines you might want to bring just to have on hand, just in case. And then, of course, how to book your visas. So it's not that complicated. We've done all the legwork and provide you with all the information that you need to have well in advance, so that it doesn't have to be a headache to plan a trip like this, because we really want to make it as easy as possible. So next, what you'll see is when you click on the link that's in the chat, or click on the link that will be in the follow-up email, it'll take you to a section of our website that looks like this. And here's where you can click on the itinerary icon. If you're on your mobile, all you see is a little suitcase, but that's what that represents, is the itinerary, and you can see the day by day and read more about the hotels and whatnot. Melissa is asking about the maximum group size. Our maximum group size for this retreat is 15 women, so we won't have more than that. Right now we've got a very small group, so the retreat is going ahead, but it looks like we'll have a smaller group this year, which is wonderful too. Very intimate, very personal. But no, not large group at all. So yeah, so like I said, there's lots more information here on this booking trip page. Yeah, we're here to answer. I'm happy to stay on this call. If anyone has any other questions that they want to drop into the chat right now. Otherwise, I'll just see if there was any other essential questions. Yeah, I mean, well, one of the things I just want to make sure that we're clear about, one of the women who dropped a question into us beforehand was just about, sharing that she's not a really fast runner and she's worried about, slowing other people down. And I know that it can be intimidating to run as part of a group, but Charlotte, can you just kind of maybe clarify a little bit more for us about, how we support runners of different fitness levels, knowing that with every group, there's always a range of paces and that sort of thing.
When we have an out and back, there's a destination where we hang out and people can catch up in their own time on this retreat. When we have a point-to-point run on this retreat, there will be a van often with us. So you can pull out sections of uphill even, if that's not your favorite, or as you only want to run to a monastery and then you want to be taken back to the hotel in a van. There's even sections or stretches on this retreat where the van literally drives right behind the group, so you can jump on and off depending on how you feel. So there's always options, alternatives, and plenty of room for you to run in your own pace. And I just want to repeat, no one really wanted on these two retreats that were sold out last year to run from one destination to another the fastest they could, because there was too much along the way that they wanted to experience, like, running through a village or spending time on a monastery or whatever sort of unfolded along the way was way too interesting to have mileage or pacing in mind.
That's awesome, Charlotte. And one other question is, are there opportunities for seeing important sites and or having local/cultural experiences, or is the focus exclusively on running and wellness?
Can you repeat the first? Was that a question for me?
Yeah. Because I mean, I think we've described in different ways how, how there's a lot of cultural opportunities. But just again, are we seeing important sites along the way, or is it just about running and wellness, as in like running and going to spas, or do we get to really take in the Bhutanese culture and flavor of the place?
I actually recommend you go into our Smog Mug portfolio or gallery to see some of the pictures of us sitting in lotus pose now. Just sit, and enjoying taking in the view on the trail. We have sections that we try to run on our own so we can really take in the surroundings. So we have some mindful moments on trail and we practice mindful running along the way. And for us in Run Wild retreats, running in these destinations is a new way of running that I might not even have found the words for yet, because it includes connecting to the culture and the history of the place in a whole nother way than we've done so far. So yeah, no one runs by Tiger's Nest without spending time there. It's just not, the place induces slowing down and seeing the things more clearly when you run by them.
And we do stop and visit some temples along the way as well.
Oh yeah, on almost every run there will be a visit of some kind of cultural scale. So Tiger's Nest being one of them. Already on day 3, the first longer run is a run to a monastery that I think have 1,500 monks living there up in the middle of the mountains, in the middle of nowhere, really. An opportunity to have lunch with them, and maybe potentially, if it all works out, to sit with the chief monk there and then run back down. So if you think you're going to run the full distance without connecting to something, that might not be the way we run here. We often run to something, spend some time there, and then run back down or to another point of interest. So lots of sightseeings along the way, almost on every run, actually.
Yeah. Well, and Charlotte, I've got one last question for you. And this is a great question. I love that someone submitted this. She asked, what is your goal for the retreat as leaders? How would you sum that up?
I mean, we can never ask for transformation to happen, because that's your own responsibility, really. It's a result of how you engage and how curious you are, how present you are. But this destination really holds, for lack of better words, the highest transformational potential that I've ever experienced in our, I think that's unfair to say, because Amy, you ran with us in Iceland, and that destination holds its whole own transformational potential. But this place really, all by being itself, holds so much potential for transformation. So I would say that if I was again to be the retreat leader, I would, just because I saw it unfold to such extreme extent on that retreat, I would want everyone to go, and even though I was the retreat leader and had so much of my attention go towards the well-being of the guests that we have on the retreat, I came home as a transformed human being.
That's awesome, Charlotte. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for your time today, for joining us. It's been just incredible. And we just love talking about these trips because we know how powerful they can be. And we'd love to have you join us in Bhutan. So we'll be sending you information in some follow-up emails. But of course, if you want to get in touch with any of us, do reach out. We'd love to talk to you more and start planning your very special mindful running retreat with us in 2024. This truly is a trip of a lifetime. So we'll wrap this up, and thank you so much, everyone. Have a wonderful evening. Bye-bye.